Hey everybody, this is Pastor Michael at Ascension Lutheran Church in Torrance, California. It's time for another Midweek Boost. Today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to go really deep theology on you. It's not going to take long, but it will be deep. Earlier this morning, we ran into an issue that I've had discussions with people before about, and I think it's a common misconception that's very easy to hold on to. This idea that Jesus is God kind of in a human shell, and that when we think of him that way, it really does take away his human nature. When it comes to Jesus's will, the early church decided that what was going on with Jesus is that he had two natures in one person. He had a divine nature and he had a human nature. And within that human nature, he has a human will. Now, his will is not corrupt. It's like Adam's will before the fall. Our will is like Adam's will after the fall. It's corrupt, and it takes us down many dark paths whereas we choose what we think is right, but it's not. Now, Jesus' will was like Adam's will. It was not corrupt. It was good, but it was still free, so that it could be different than his divine will. This is why he asked God to deliver him from that cup on Thursday night before he was crucified. He did not want to have to take on the sins of the world into his flesh in his human nature. That was the scariest thing he could possibly imagine. He was going to be forsaken by God to experience hell on that cross. There was nothing sinful about that. Jesus was always without sin. And while his human will ached for a way for God to find a different path, he surrendered his will to the will of the Father. That's why he said, "Not my will, but thine be done." And it was Jesus' joy to be able to be obedient to his Father. Unlike Adam, who chose to listen to the serpent and his wife over what God had said. Now we have a corrupt will. We're post-Adam, corrupt in our nature. And so for us, we are incapable of choosing God. Our will is free to do all sorts of things, but it cannot do anything holy. Nothing we do is good apart from God. Nothing. It's impossible to please him without faith. But when we have faith, we have God in us. The Father and the Son make their dwelling within our hearts. And we still have a human will, a corrupt human will. That won't be changed until the resurrection. But we have a new nature. We have a new heart within us. And so we have to do the same thing that Jesus did, surrender our will to the will of the Father. But Jesus was his own person. He was free to go any direction that he wanted to go. Because he was a man, he could be tempted. God cannot be tempted, but as a man, Jesus could be tempted. And when he was able to surrender his will to the will of the Father and be obedient even unto death on a cross for you and for me. Have a blessed night, everybody.